Backflips moved to Dallas. Sorry, Zach. Oh, my God, a backflip. Ah! Oh, man. That's not one of your finer moments, you two.
You know how bad last year was?
Celebrating the backflip. Thought I was listening to a Celtics game there or something.
I would advise you not to ever listen to the Red Sox broadcast on the radio. They do nothing wrong. It's like an American. It's an all-star team assembled.
Don't deflect. This is about you guys celebrating a backflip.
And I've already prefaced this with over the weekend some of because I've listened to a lot from driving around doing some things over the weekend. And the other team's like the worst team ever. And this is like the greatest team ever assembled. I know they're off to a hot start. Pump up the brakes a little.
Mike Reese on Joe Milton, a follow-up from his Sunday notes. He said the modest draft pick compensation the Patriots received sparks a question as to why they did it. He said Milton looked like an asset at the game's most important position following the season-ending performance in a win over the Bills, especially considering Drake Maye was twice evaluated for concussions in games last season. He said the timing, according to a source familiar with the team's thinking, wasn't a coincidence. Monday marks the start of the team's voluntary program, and Vrabel views that as a meaningful checkpoint in the process of establishing team culture and the dynamic that ideally unfolds within each position group. They're basically making it known that Joe Milton was bad for the team's culture. Bad for the room, bad for the culture, bad guy. Joe Milton is a back-flipping bad guy. That's what he is. He writes that Milton's departure leaves May and veteran Joshua Dobbs as the lone quarterbacks for now. For now.
Oh, you're adding. Yes. You need another arm. You might need 2 arms for camp. 2 more arms. Yeah. You will add 1 or 2 more. I also double down on what Reese said. Like this, they just removed him from the room. They wanted him out of the building. I'm not sitting here saying he's a bad guy. From the Milton I know, it's a good kid. It's a good kid.
It's bad for culture.
Problem is,
bad for the year. Bad guy.
You drafted 2 kids in the same year.
Bad guy.
Like, what's more important for the team? For the team to develop Joe Milton to where they could possibly get a 3rd or 4th round pick for him instead of the 6th? Or is it better to just get Drake Maye up and running from day one?
You act as if those things are mutually exclusive.
Yeah, because I think it is.
You cannot do both of them?
The information I keep gathering from this draft class is that he feels he should start.
Okay.
And there should be more of a competition at the front.
Don't you hate that when guys want to compete?
I know, I hate it.
I get it. I get it, guys.
So I need someone to explain to me what happens if Milton's there today as they start the voluntary program. What happens? Where does it go wrong? What's the matter? What happens that will be bad for the team because they decided to keep him?
It's an annoyance for the starter.
Okay.
That's what it is.
So
Okay, I'm just telling you, I lived it. I know it. I watched this develop with Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi, and I saw it coming, and I saw it fester, and I saw it get to a bad point. You got to know your roles at this position, in this league, at this level, because that's the way teams like it. There's 1, there's a 2, and a 3. And when you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none, really, because if you can't decide which guy should play, look at the Patriots and what they went through with Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi. In and out, snip, snap. Like, which one should be? Neither one was successful. You know, it's just from day one, Mike wants to start this program off. Drake, it's your team. Dobbs, you're brilliant. You're bringing in to be the backup to help facilitate things for him. And we're going to get in a distant 3rd guy here to come in and be your 1, 2, and 3 guys. That's the way it's going to go here.
So he wants to be the starter. Mm-hmm. He knows he doesn't have a real opportunity. He gets out there, and he's just moping around. He's just moping around.
I don't think he wants to be
checked out, not involved. Why bring that into the room? When you're trying to reset the culture, why have a guy if you think that he's going to come in and maybe not even be a problem, but just not be engaged, not be with the program, not be invested because he doesn't think he has a real opportunity to start, which, by the way, he doesn't and he shouldn't. So why have him here?
Is this room, if you're establishing this culture, going to be incapable of dealing with those types of players? Because those types of players will exist on every team.
They will, but this shouldn't be the guy where you die on that hill with. You know what I'm saying?
What if
certain player, number one receiver? Absolutely. Yeah, you have to roll the dice and you have to do it. The backup quarterback that's never going to play, the third string quarterback that's never going to play, to have him in the room and bring that down and potentially, by the way, interfere with the development of your franchise quarterback, it's not worth it.
What are you saying he's not going to play?
Well,
Drake Maye
wait a
has been knocked out of 2 games with a concussion, and he's a mobile quarterback that's a injury waiting to happen.
And so I would also ask the question, you wouldn't even let him compete with Josh Dobbs? Like
Dobbs, see, I think that's a big player in this too. Dobbs wouldn't have came here then.
So you couldn't let Dobbs and Milton compete for second versus third string?
Yeah, but this goes back to what Zoe was talking about with the ability to have that veteran on the sideline to help you out, or just have that veteran in the room to help you out.
Who said he's going anywhere? He'd still be on the team. Josh Dobbs is making the roster. Josh Dobbs, we just paid you a bunch of money. You've got to beat out a second-year kid who's picked in the 6th round. Josh Dobbs can't handle that.
Is Joe Milton going to be satisfied with being the number 2 quarterback, or is he going to be rolling his eyes saying that, man, I should be the starting quarterback?
What if this? What if the new regime comes in from day one, and you're not allowed to do any of this football stuff back and forth? Like you can't sit in there and meet about football, but you could talk to players. What if Joe Milton and the new regime never really checked in with each other to this point to where he was traded? Like, say there's an open line of communication with Drake. Maybe he's been in the building. Maybe he's talked. Hey, McDaniels said this to where they talked about it, They talked about things other than football. What if Milton just never checked in and the message was relayed to them that, yeah, he doesn't really want to be here moving forward? Then you got to move the guy, right? And whatever's out there, you're going to move him for.
You don't have to.
You don't have to, but this is the last problem I need coming in here. If you're Vrabel, this is the last problem I need. Quarterback problem in a room. It's not going to happen under my watch. Again, this is a Vrabel move. I don't think Elliott's trading the guy he drafted and showed upside.
Yeah, no, of course it's a Vrabel move. That's not even a conversation anymore.
Yeah.
I don't even know why we even bother having it. There are no more Elliott moves. Elliott works for Mike. That's how I perceive that to be.
Don't you think this is a little bit of coddling Drake Maye, too?
Yeah, no, they're babying Drake Maye. They're treating him with kid gloves when I don't think he needs it. I don't think he's would be impacted one bit.
This is like removing an obstacle.
He's a superstar in the making, and he can't handle. You're trying to sell me on the idea that he can't handle Joe Milton. Please, he's been beating out the Joe Miltons of the world his whole life.
Why
you think
even
this one's going to phase him? He beat out the Joe Miltons when he was 12 and when he was 15 and when he was 18. He always beat out the inferior players every step of the way.
And he would have done it again, but why?
Yeah, why?
Well, why even introduce that into the locker room? Again, what is the upside of keeping Joe Milton around for this?
That there is developed talent that you could at some point move for a much better asset, or you end up having a really good backup quarterback. Those are good outcomes. Okay, good outcomes are having a really good backup quarterback and having the potential to move that quarterback for something that's really good. And I don't know, it could be at the end of preseason, could be next off season, somewhere down the road. You can only help yourself. I don't know where the bad outcomes are. This is what I asked.
No, the bad. I'll tell you what the bad.
This is what I asked for at the start of the segment, and you guys, who are fully in support, Zoe and McCone, fully in support of the deal, have yet to tell me what the bad thing is that happened. That's how I started this segment 10 minutes ago. I said, play it out for me. What's this horrible thing that happens because they kept Joe Milton?
You have a toxic quarterback room because the guy wants to have the ability to start.
And then what happens? Drake May plays terrible?
Well, no.
I just think it makes everyone's life more difficult. Why are you making a franchise quarterback more difficult?
This is easy.
How does it make it difficult?
This is easy. What you have is you form cliques within the team. There's certain guys on the team that will become Milton guys. If you like hanging with Milton and you're boys with him, that's going to be our guy. And this happens all the time. This happened with Drake, with Zappy and Jones.
Bad example. Those guys both suck.
I get it though, but there will be guys privately rooting and personally rooting for one guy to succeed over the other, and that's not good. It's not. We're playing the wrong guy. Should be playing the other guy. You don't want that to happen.
If he was any good, don't you think he would have pushed Jacoby Brissett for the second quarterback during the middle part of last year?
Probably.
Although I don't know, man.
I don't know why
was starter week one. I don't know how that happened.
You want a really toxic room? Tell Jacoby we're not only demoting you and taking the start away from you. We're going to demote you to third.
Yeah, they already had a toxic quarterback room.
Right.
He can handle it.
Yeah,
Right. There's a difference between him. Okay, why are you making
the toxic room for a whole year? He looked pretty good to me.
Yes,
Jacoby Brissett wouldn't shut up.
Why would you make life for your franchise quarterback more difficult? That makes no sense.
That wouldn't make it more difficult.
Yes, it does.
No, this
They
year
already got rid of the
this
difficult
year
guy.
would be less difficult than last year.
Right, but-
even with Joe Milton in the room.
Or you could just have a room that's totally fine. Why would you not take that path?
I didn't take
Why-
Mike Vrabel as a helicopter
I've
parent.
explained why you wouldn't take that path, because you have a young player that has obviously developed from what he was in college to what he showed you at the end of the season.
Because he played third string, the third stringers against
but you
Buffalo?
can't tell me that. I told you at the time, this kid just played the game of his life. He didn't look like that at Michigan or Tennessee. He didn't play like that.
No.
All right, so we're holding on to this guy for
And,
the
and
hope that you
NFL
can
third
upgrade
stringers
the pick.
are better than what he was playing against at Tennessee.
Fair. But I think you're holding on to a quarterback in the hopes that potentially
And Michigan.
down the road you could get more draft
Bad at that time,
assets.
too. Michigan was down those years. Yeah.
Or you could just clear the runway for your franchise quarterback and make life easier for him.
Who doesn't need you to clear anything for him. He'll plow right through. Again, I'm still waiting for someone to explain to me what the really bad thing is that would happen, but I haven't. The toxic room, friends, cliques. All right. This is all normal stuff. This happens on every team.
It doesn't have to happen. It doesn't have to happen.
The really bad thing that's happened is now that we have Josh Dobbs as the quarterback when Drake Maye inevitably gets knocked out of the next game.
Karen Garegian, who yesterday wrote, "What was Mike Vrabel thinking?" And that's obviously someone who's close to the situation and knows who's in charge.
Co-written by Tim McCone.
What was Mike Vrabel thinking? Based on intel gathered from sources during the week, Milton fancied himself a starter. He didn't see himself being given a legitimate chance to compete with Drake Maye. He also believed he was good enough to give Maye a run, if not overtake him for the top job. If that chance didn't exist, Milton preferred being elsewhere, somewhere he had a better chance of competing for the starter's job. He got his wish, sort of. He said, she writes, Milton is basically in the same boat in Dallas. Although he's reportedly happy to be there, given his mother has been a longtime fan of the Cowboys. And it has always been a dream of his to play there. So he sort of gets his wish by going to Dallas. Milton, 25, 3 years older than Drake Maye, made it clear behind the scenes, Karen wrote, that he no longer wanted to be sitting behind Maye. I love the straightforwardness. Got to respect it.
I mean,
Blunt.
He is 3 years older. Like, you're sitting there, you're looking at it, okay, we get this 22-year-old phenom. They drafted third overall. It's his team. I'm never going to get a shot here.
What? I have a question.
So I got to do something to shoot my way out of here.
Let's advance it. What would Bill Belichick have done?
Gotten rid of him.
Disagree.
Shut up, show up.
You would have given him first-team reps.
Yeah,
He
shut
would've
up,
said-
show up, and play. You have
right.
no choice. We have your rights.
Compete.
You know what he'd say? We encourage that at every position. Go ahead. Go out there and prove it. Compete. Let's see it. Yeah, that job's open like every other. That was one of Bill's big mantras. Like, that was the thing with Bill. Everybody has to compete for their job. So good. I want you to get out there and push this kid.
Brady Bledsoe.
And if you're better,
Brady Garoppolo.
and if you're better,
Brady Garoppolo.
you'll play.
I think if you came in with the expectation that you were going to be the starting quarterback and were making noise because you weren't happy behind a franchise quarterback, like if Jimmy G was floating out that he should be the starting quarterback,
Oh, dude, I remember being in
Did
Arizona.
Drake Maye have any games that looked as clean? Now, I know the competition was garbage in Week 18. Okay, and I'm not telling you that Joe Milton is Drake Maye because he's not half the quarterback Drake Maye is. But in terms of, hey, how did my opportunity look and how clean it looked in Week 18 versus his sample of games?
Okay.
Like, can you blame the kid for thinking that way?
Yes, that's delusional. That is delusional to think that.
But he can only prove himself in the opportunities he's given. So when he says, Coach, flip on that tape, you're telling me I don't deserve a chance to play against a team when they have their starters out there? I mean, I can only do what you're offering me. I could only perform in that game because I didn't have any others. So, like, I don't blame someone for feeling that way and for feeling like, hey, I've earned more of a chance here. Give me a chance. Now, I don't think he'd win. I think he'd get beat out 100 out of 100 times by Drake Maye because he's just not as good. But Bill Belichick would have said, all right, then, come on in and compete. The best guy will play. He wouldn't cut him.
I think
he wouldn't send him out for the 5th rounder. He would have hung on to him. Bill loved that crap. Bill loved needling veterans or guys that were entitled or any of that. And so Vrabel walks in day one spouting off. That was disgusting.
That's so loud.
Spouting off about removing entitlement. Like removing entitlement. And then 2 months later is saying, but, let's make sure we don't have any toxicity in the quarterback room. Let's give him a clean runway. Oh, well, entitlement. You're now you're encouraging
one,
it.
though. Joe Milton's the entitled one. Thinking that you should be the starting quarterback is a problem.
Opportunity, chance to compete.
There's a difference between having a chance to compete and going.
That Sunday against the Bills opened his eyes to something that he didn't want to be here anymore. Like I know I can play. He thinks in his mind, and I think in his agent's mind, he can play at this level and he should be able to compete.
Do you want me to read Karen's report again?
Sure.
He didn't see himself being given a legitimate chance to compete.
Correct.
He wanted a chance to compete.
Right.
He wasn't pissed that he wasn't the starter.
You're not.
He was pissed that they weren't giving him a chance to be a guy who could compete to be the starter.
What's best for Josh McDaniels and this offense moving forward, and more importantly, this whole football team, and more importantly, the franchise, is that from day one with McDaniels, that there's a quarterback competition, or that this is Drake Maye's team. Drake Maye's team. Go build it, Josh.
No, fair. Let me ask you a question. Going into training camp, do you want reps given to Joe Milton so he has an opportunity to compete?
No.
Or do you want everything? So if he doesn't get that opportunity, that guy's going to be pissed off, and now you have a toxic locker room.
To borrow my Bill Belichick thing, to go back to that, Bill wasn't giving guys extra reps to compete when they were third stringers. He'd say, make the best of the reps you get. If you make the best of your 6 reps today, maybe you get 7 tomorrow.
But was he going to be satisfied with it? And I don't think he was going to be.
Probably not.
Right. So now you have an issue with a quarterback that isn't happy in that room and is toxic.
You know what you could do? There's also trades in August before the start of the season.
How is that going to affect Drake Maye, too? Like, how would that really affect Drake Maye?
I just don't know why when you're trying to reset.
You can't give an answer. You can't give an answer.
I am giving you the answer right now. When you're trying to reset the culture in that locker room, why are you doing this for a guy that's never going to play? Like, I understand, by the way, you're going to have guys that aren't great
because
in the locker
I'm
room.
not sure he's never going to play. I'm being honest. I'm really not sure of that.
Then you got a problem on your hands.
But I'm saying, what's a concrete way that this will actually affect
Why do you have a problem
Drake
on
Maye?
your hands?
Because you
if you
really
need him
want
at some point because your quarterback is hurt.
Because you're not sure he can play. I understand that, but then you already signed Dobbs. And when you went to Dobbs in free agency, Dobbs probably said to them, "I'm the backup, correct here?" Because
that seems like a sense of entitlement right there.
Well, wait a minute.
No, they promised the backup.
I'm a journeyman. You want to give me $5 million? I got 3 other teams want to give me $5 million. I want to go there and be the backup. I want to make sure I'm there to be the backup. I'm not going there to compete for number 2.
You're a backup.
It's almost like the time they told Jacoby Brissett he would be the starter, and then by week 5 he wasn't.
There you go. Well,
it happens all the time. That's when, if you're
right. And how did
strong program.
By the way, how did Jacoby Brissett handle that? By the way,
terribly.
Yeah.
You say, "Hey, we paid you $5 million, and you came here as a backup, and there's really not a big difference between second and third string. So take your $5 million and be happy. Okay, take your $5 million and not play and be okay with it. Be a good leader. Grow up. Grow up. You couldn't beat out Joe Milton. That's what I'd say to Dobbs. You couldn't beat out Joe Milton. You got nobody to blame but yourself, pal. Enjoy your $5 million. You can choose a new team next year. Thank you. Move on." Like, what's he gonna do? Oh no, there's a mutiny with the backups. Oh no.
And if it really affected Drake Maye that much, he didn't have the mental fortitude that we thought he did.
It's not about affecting Drake Maye, though. It's about making life as easy. I don't know why you're putting roadblocks up for your franchise, unnecessary roadblocks up for your franchise
He's
quarterback.
a backup quarterback. It's not unnecessary. It's a
Yes,
pretty
it is.
necessary
You can
position.
you can find a backup quarterback that isn't going to ruffle feathers and be an annoyance throughout the year.
It's hard for you to justify this trade when you say that he would have been a roadblock because that indicates he can play a little bit.
No, I don't mean a roadblock in terms of. I mean just day in and day out dealing with a guy that's moping around because he wants to be the starting quarterback and feels like he didn't get an opportunity. Why even bring that into the room? for Joe Milton.
I'm just a
That's
little
crazy.
I'm just a little concerned about Drake Maye if they think that that's something that Drake Maye needed.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. I don't love that one bit.
Well, they don't even really know Drake Maye. They haven't spent that much time with him. So how could you really know that? Except for a couple phone calls or maybe a couple meetings. Like, they've been crunching at free agency, the draft, the getting ready for that, the combine. Like, today's where they really start to get to know him. You know, it's day one of the offseason program.
Mike Reese reports, writes, theorizes, speculates, I don't know how to label it, but he says the Patriots most likely will be looking at options at quarterback from the 3rd to 7th rounds in the draft. That includes a number of names. Jalen Milroe, Syracuse's Kyle McCord. You could go down the list, whether it be Will Howard or Quinn Ewers. There's all kinds of guys that he throws on that list. Riley Leonard from Notre Dame.
It sounds like a lot of guys with some big names.
Milroe
Might have some egos on them.
Milroe seems like a guy that didn't he run a 4.3?
Well, my question is, what if they use a 3rd-round pick on a quarterback? How's that going to fly?
What are you going to do if you get Milroe? He's 6'5", 250, and he ran a 4.340. He's ripped and yoked. And seems like he has all the tools, too, that Milton had. You want to bring that in?
Can he backflip?
I think you can.
I don't know. Cue it up, T-Bone. What if it's Quinn Ewers? He played in a lot of big games at Texas. You know, probably got a big ego. Probably wants to compete.
He didn't have a big arm.
Probably wants to be a competitive guy.
Nah, he'll be a third guy here.
Just based on needs, though, if they're using a 3rd-round pick on a quarterback, that is negligence.
Insane.
That is crazy.
Insane, and I hope that doesn't happen.
Just get the pass catching back in the 3rd round. Just do that. Okay, or maybe
I
another
hope that
tackle.
doesn't happen.
Yeah, get some tackles.